You already got a job. Welcome back to another fun-filled show. I'm your host. He is Blanchard, aka Free Blanche, aka Blanchstradamus, aka Blanchy Kruger. And today's title is Dear Black People, What Do You Want White People to Do? Now, I asked this question jokingly, but I do have some sincerity in my question. When white people have decided to leave from among you all, you call them racist and you get upset. And you say that's white flight, and that is the cause to the demise in your community. When white people move back into your neighborhoods and revitalize the community and bring the property value up, you all call them gentrifiers and colonists, and you get mad at them. So we see that you all hate when white people leave and you hate when white people come back. So my question is to Black people, what do you want white people to do? So let's just jump right into it. I watched this video today. Well, not today. I'm gonna start with another video, and then I'm gonna go into this other video by Nick Fuentes, where he's basically breaking down Black people. But let's listen to some people talk about white people. Let's just listen to it.
White people are AI. Y'all know about the Garden of Eden, right? The one that they tell everybody about in the Bible, where the first humans existed. What if I told you that's not where the real first humans existed, but that's where the real first white people were created? Before the Bible, we had actual scrolls and tablets that stored ancient text, and no one questions the real meaning of this shit. That's why Eve and Adam was in the Garden of Eden, because the real Garden of Eden was the lab. The human race, aka the Caucasian people, were created in the image of God by a black man who was a scientist, because before white people ever walked the earth, black people did. He took the Eve gene from the black woman, the only carrier of it, and went and cut it in half and smashed it together with an atom. Since they no longer carry the original gene, it was watered down, they were no longer connected to God the same way that the people who were born the natural way were. This is what I mean by AI. So white people, your own people lied to you too, and black people, they lied to us because they don't want nobody knowing they self. And that's why I created my own journal to help you actually learn the truth that is inside of your own brain right now. Is linked in my bio, because you already know it.
Now, the sad thing about what she just said is that Black people believe this. And it doesn't matter if they're in church, it doesn't matter, like that, none of that matters. Everything she just said, the average Black person believes it. So at this point, what do you all want white people to do? Because if you all are walking around believing that Yakub, some big butt-headed dude, created white people, then how is that interaction going to be? If you believe that white people were created by Black people, you believe they are inferior. If you believe they are inferior, then how can you respect them? You don't. But if they're inferior and they oppressed you, now you actually hate them. So if you all believe this about white people, then my question is, would white people be wrong to either send you all back to Africa or put you all in your own states? Totally separate from you all. I don't know. Let's continue. Let's continue.
The whole planet was always naturally warm. So when they on the news and they talk about it's historic heat waves, no, they're lying to the masses. Winter is not natural to the planet, and it never was. So what's actually happening is the planet is going back to her ancient ways. She is detoxing herself of these parasitical invaders. And that's why I've been telling y'all since last year, human beings, I say, get right. Get right with us. Because if not, y'all gonna be going through spontaneous combustion because y'all lack neuromelanin. And the planet is warming up. They've been talking to y'all about global warming the last 30 years. That's what they have been coding it as. It's not global warming. Nigga, we coming back to this bitch, nigga. The Anunnakis, the ancient ones that's been outside the planet. Motherfuckers had to come from headquarters and come back to get it right down here because these reptilians had us fucked up down here. Motherfuckers been all outside of they self. It got too out of hand. See what I'm saying?
Again. So again, what do you all want white people to do? This guy right here, Jamal Rashad or Rashad Jamal, is in prison now for child molestation, just like Brother Polite, just like Malachi York, similarly, just like Nature Boy. All of your favorite Black conscious leaders are pedophiles and whoremongers. But so they've been talking about global warming, and we know that global warming is capped. We know that, and there will come a time when you won't be able to say global warming is fake. That time is coming. But Jamal Rashad or Rashad Jamal is saying that global warming is the planet detoxing herself because winter is not normal to the planet. But again, all of this rhetoric makes Black people dislike white people because you have a group of people telling Black people that white people are inferior, and then they see those same white people oppressing them. This is what caused a lot of contention and I don't know the word I can use, but friction between white and Black people. It's not mostly what white people are consuming more than it is what Black folks are consuming. What white folks are consuming in mass isn't telling them that they are superior to Black people. What Black people are consuming in mass is telling them they are superior to white people and that they are the gods of the earth. And again, what do you want white people to do?
We look around and we see today in our politics a rich white man telling working class white people that their problem is brown people. We need to understand the historical pedigree of that. That is symbolic of the entire history of race and class politics in America.
Who said that? Tell me the person that said that brown people are the cause of all of your problems. Please tell me who said that. What white person said that? Now, Tom Yawning said, winter isn't natural. It's the Earth's way of getting rid of white people who are adapted to cold climate. I don't know what that means. But to piggyback on what he just said, what Rashad Jamal said basically is that winter was a way to do what? Like, why did the earth bring on a winter cycle? Why is there a winter season? Why is there Antarctica? Anyway.
the history of rich white people telling working class and poor. When we look around and we see today in our politics a rich white man telling working class white people that their problem is brown people, we need to understand the historical pedigree of that. That is symbolic of the entire history of race and class politics in America. The history of rich white people telling working class and poor white people that their problem are black and brown people. Beginning in the 1600s, that is what happens. Prior to about 1670 or so, there was no such thing as the white race, at least not recognized as such, called as such. That is not what people of European descent were when they were in Europe. They were English, they were Irish, they were Scottish, they were whatever they were. They were not white. Only in the colonies do we become white, and for a very specific reason, because in those early years of the colonial period, where you had white indentured servants, one level above enslaved themselves, and you had African descended folks, some of them enslaved for life, others indentured servants also in the earliest years of the colonies, those people would often see their interests as being common. They all realized that they were being screwed over by the same landowners, the same elite. They fomented various rebellions, like Bacon's Rebellion in Virginia, others as well. And as a result, the elite in the colonies realized that they had to figure out a way to get the other folks from Europe on their team. So they created this mentality that said, you're now a member of the white race. You're on our team. You're wearing our uniform. Now you're at the end of the bench. You may not get in the game, but you're on our team, you see. So then they start putting white folks, now called, on the slave patrols, right? Didn't really give them any land.
Show me. Show me this great meeting they had. Now, we all know that in history, for the most part, when these big things occurred, they're documented. So just show me the congressional hearing. Show me something that says that from this day forward, we're going to call white people white. Cite where you're getting this from. What colonial leader said this? Who came up with it? Did they vote on it? Where did it come from? Show me where in history white people said, let's now become white. Show me. He's telling you all this stuff, but he's not telling you who came up with it. Who was the genius that came up with it? Who was the group? So if it was rich white people, then that should be easy to find out because it wasn't that many. Okay, let's continue.
Or any real power except the power to control people of color, which is why folks of color say, and they are right, that modern policing traces to the system of slave patrols and slavery, and we have to be clear on that because that's the history. Right? Whiteness was created to divide and conquer, to create the notion that even though you might not have much, at least you're not black, at least you're not indigenous, at least you're not Mexican, at least you're not Chinese working on the railroads to build the transcontinental economy. You may not have much, but at least you have, as W.E.B. Du Bois said, the psychological wage of whiteness.
Now, I want you to think about what he just said. Who believes that only Chinese people worked on the railroad? Who believes that only black people pick cotton? You see, the problem with what most of these people are saying, most of this mental poisoning, is that you have to be emotional to believe it. And you have to see yourself as a victim to believe it. Because common sense should tell you, if you gathered up all of the slaves and all of the Chinese and whatever Native Americans were working, you would not have enough people to keep the economy going. Not enough manpower. And my question is, during slavery, where were all the Mexicans? If half of the country had Mexicans in it, where were all the Mexicans during slavery? Where is their story? Why is their story never told? Where were the Mexicans during slavery? Please tell me, who was the first Mexican to cross the border into America? Ms. Graves said they were in Texas with their slaves. But anyway, so he quoted W.E.B. Du Bois, a commie. the psychological wage of whiteness. And again, we've already discussed about what is whiteness. No one can quite put a finger on it. We don't quite know what whiteness is, but we know that white people have it and they want it. And they oppress us with it. So in order to get rid of whiteness, you got to get rid of white people.
And it's a trick that was played during the Civil War era on my people in the South, right? Rich folk, landowners in the South telling poor white folks who didn't own anything that they got to go out and fight to preserve the rich man's property in human beings. Fascinating. Why would you do that? Why would I go fight for your property? Well, because you told me that if I don't, these slaves are going to take my job. No, fool, they got your job. That's the point.
What he's saying contextually doesn't make any sense. The people in the South weren't going to war to keep slaves. That doesn't make any sense. There has to be another reason, people. It doesn't make any sense. I'm going to go out there and die and then not be able to have my slaves. Does that make sense to you? Does it make sense to go to war and die? Now my slaves are free. It doesn't make any sense. And who believes that white people weren't working? 3% of white people own slaves. So what do you think other white folks were doing? Just sitting around? Are you crazy? It just doesn't make any sense. It only makes sense based on a lie. Do you honestly believe that some rich landowners can get some poor white folks that have nothing to go fight for them? That doesn't make any sense. So clearly, they were fighting for a greater cause that both the rich white landowner and the poor white person agreed upon. And what they both agreed upon was freedom. What they both agreed upon was state autonomy. What they both agreed upon was the government shouldn't have the right to come down here and tell us what to do. But if you think that rich white people were getting poor white people to die by the hundreds of thousands to protect their land, you're insane. You are insane. It doesn't make any sense. What he's saying makes no contextual sense, but it doesn't have to, because you're already programmed. You've already consumed the propaganda. So it doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. This is my question I'm asking you. What do you want white people to do? White people will never be able to live up to the standard that you all have set for them, because you set a standard of perfection for white people. You want white people to pay for the sins of their forefathers as if your forefathers are sinless. In his whole rant, he's not mentioning black slave owners. In his whole rant, he's not mentioning black slaves, former slaves, and black people fighting with the South. He's not mentioning any of that, because if he does, it kills the whole argument. This stuff only works through emotion and through feeling like a victim.
If you got to charge $1 a day and you can make them work for free because you own them, guess who got the gig, Jack? Not you. When in fact, the system of enslavement was in the long run against the class interest of working class white folks, but they got suckered. Same thing happened in the union movement. You had white labor union folks that didn't want black and brown bodies in their union because it would reduce the professionalism of the craft. No, fool, it'll double the size of your union. And then when you go out on strike, they can't replace your happy ass with the brown folk that you didn't want next to you in the first place. Because when they do replace you with them, then you will blame them, not the elite. See how that works? It's a trick. And it has worked for hundreds of years. It is working on some folk right now, and it is our job to resist that with every fiber of.
Again, it sounds good. It sounds good. You know what I realized? I realized that, okay, I'll give you an example of what I mean. You know how when you look at Muslim countries and you might see a woman that's covered from head to toe and she's walking, all you can see is her eyes, and you may say to yourself, man, that's a terrible way to live. She's oppressed. But then you think about the flip side to that. You think about what we have in America today with women. Women's two number one causes are abortion and independence. Think about that woman covered from head to toe saying she's oppressed. But the flip side, look at what the women do when they have all the freedom. The number one thing on their mind is murder, child sacrifice. And then after that, feminism, independence. And then after that, let's support every destructive cause known to man. Now, I don't agree with oppressing anybody. However, in hindsight, I do understand why things were done. So let's just say, for instance, that what he is saying is true, that the white people did not want black and brown people in the Union. How was that worked out today? If we talk about the workforce and work and black, all of these things that white folks were trying to prevent, how has it worked out today? What has been the end result of letting black people in to every facet of society? What has been the result? And again, all this stuff sounds good. But my question to everybody is, what has been the result? We have a society today where everybody is free. Everybody has equal rights and protection under the law. And what has been the result? How have black people fared with all of this freedom? How have women fared with all of this freedom? Marriage rates are declining. Birth rates are declining. The country is going down in flames. My question is, what's been the result? And at the end of all of this, everybody's pointing their finger at white people. If you take a single person's complaint about what's going on in this world, that complaint is going to travel its way all the way into the face of somebody white. Ms. Graves said, complete societal breakdown. Isn't it funny how freedom is such a positive thing, but it's yielding a negative outcome? Like God giving us free will for us to give a negative outcome. Adam and Eve had free will. Even the serpent had free will. Everybody had free will, and look what happened. Let's continue. Let's continue.
to see if you're privileged. So if you say yes to more than half of these questions, then apparently you're super privileged. So let's see. Are you white? This should be fun. But no. Are you a man? Yeah, I am. Do you feel comfortable in your gender? Yes. Are you physically attractive? No. Are you straight? Yes. Did you graduate high school? Yes. Have you traveled internationally? Yes. Have you always lived above the poverty line? No, definitely not. Do you work in a salaried job? No. Can you walk home without fearing for your life? Depends. You've never been bullied? Yeah, true. And finally, are you happy? Yes, very. I guess I'm privileged. How about you guys?
Imagine that being the litmus test for whether or not someone is privileged. But you notice the first question was, are you white? So basically, this whole thing is about white privilege. It's not about privilege, it's about white privilege. Because if you say I'm not white, then these questions, you're probably going to ask them differently, just based on programming. So again, what do you want white people to do? Let's continue. If my Amazon delivery person comes to my house like this, I'm calling the police.
Gonna be with Jay Money serving everybody.
And I'm telling your manager. And I'm telling your manager. And I'm telling the manager. Deanna says, as a white woman, I want love from everyone. I don't want hate. I have love for all. Listen, Deanna, I advocate for white people because I realize what's going on. And I realize what's going on. And I liken myself to I call myself the Aryan Avenger. Because I know that if you all are out of these positions, it's over. You know, people don't believe me, but if you have somebody of a color in charge, there's not going to be any freedom. It's just not. Freedom is very much white. Liberty, justice, pursuit of happiness, all of that stuff is white. That is white Western culture. That is not a universal thing for someone to have equal rights and all of that's white. And people can get mad when I say it, but that's white. Black folks don't believe in equality and everybody having a fair. Black folks don't believe in that at all. At all. Black folks believe in communism. Black folks believe in dictatorships. Black folks don't believe in casting a vote. Please stop. But let's continue. Let's continue. But yeah, if you come to my house delivering a package, you better come professional. Because you come out there dancing with music playing loud, I'm calling the police. Calling the police. But let's continue. What is this right here? What is this? Let me see.
First, around your own people, you feel more comfortable around your own kind of people. And I think the fact is that everyone of the white British have all moved out to Essex. So I feel the couple, well, the few that are left in the room, feel that why stay here? All our own have moved out, so why don't we up and move out with them?
A young white girl, Whitechapel, they was fighting on the bus, this Asian girl was you white bitch, this you white bitch, that. And you know what the girl said to me that made me stick out? I can't reply to you because what people would think about me. Now I thought to myself, it's true that if that girl would have replied, everyone would have accused, she would have been the racist.
I feel that we've been ethnically cleansed. It's so sad.
And it is sad. And it's sad because it's been a lie. I want you to think about something. Think about, they've been telling everybody that white people are racist. If white people are so racist, then how can we go to these cities and it's all of these people of color in the cities? If white people were really racist, they would have stopped it during the first wave. So the fact that a community can be taken over or a city can be taken over lets you know that white folks are very tolerant. They're very accepting and tolerant. Otherwise, it couldn't have happened. It's just crazy that they're telling you that white people are racist at the very same time going into the country that the white people are at and not having any problems with them. You're not going to go to a country where you're going to have constant conflict with white people. You're not going to do it. You're only going to the country because it's peaceful. You're not going to go from a country where there's killing and mayhem and death and destruction to go to a country where you got to fight white people with an already established system. You're not going to do it. You're only going around white folks because it's going to be peaceful. They're going to leave you alone. But those very same people are saying that white folks are racist. And nobody ever scratches their heads and you know, it don't make any sense. How could y'all be here saying they're racist if they were racist? We need a lot more Jesus. That's the problem. We need a lot more Jesus. That is the problem.
Betty. Black people are God's original people. Black people is a superior race. A black woman can make a white baby. A white woman cannot make a black baby. You want to know something else? The car engine.
I've never in my life seen a black woman make a white baby. I've never in my life seen a black woman make a white baby ever. Matter of fact, when black people go outside of their race, the first thing to leave them is their color. And their hair texture usually changes as well. So what makes a black person black immediately leaves, which lets you know that black people don't have the dominant gene. Black people don't have the dominant gene. Clearly, the moment a black person gets with an Asian person, that child looks Asian. The moment a black person gets with a white person, that child looks more white. The first thing to leave is the color. The one thing that black folks are holding on to is the first thing to go. So no, black people do not have the most dominant gene at all. It's not true. If anybody has a dominant gene, it's everybody but black people.
What y'all feel about it? Black people are God's original people. Black people is a superior race. A black woman can make a white baby. A white woman cannot make a black baby. You want to know something else? The car engine, this land, signals in a car, all of that was made by black people, but it was stole from us by white folks. This is our stuff. This our motherfucking land. We found this land. I don't care how y'all feel about it. Y'all always put black people last, bro. Even the way we cook, bro, the way we sing is so different. Can't nobody else do that. How we do it. You feel me? If you can, you learn from who? Black folks. We so unique and y'all put black folks down so bad. Maybe if we stop killing each other, we could get together and we could rule this joint.
Now imagine her giving you this video with a blonde lace front on her head. Imagine her giving you this spiel about black people being genetically superior, and she's trying to look like a white woman. You think so? I feel like when a white woman is with a black man, most of the time the child looks more like the dad. When a white woman's with a black man, that child is going to come out lighter than the dad. What black people are calling genetic superiority is skin color. The first thing to leave is skin color. So if black people truly had dominant genes, when they got with a white person, the child will come out dark. The child doesn't come out dark. The child comes out lighter every time. Maybe occasionally it might be not as light, but it's still lighter. Now, facial features, that's just genetics, hit or miss. But we can almost guarantee the skin tone is going to change and it's going to be lighter. And not just with white, Asian, you can Hispanic, you can pick any of these races, Pacific Islander, you can pick any of these races and the color is going to leave. But this girl here has the audacity to say that white people get everything from black people, and she literally has a blonde lace front wig on her head. Literally.
Stop killing each other. The white men don't even have to kill us. We doing it to ourselves. The Bible says the ones who was always last will one day be first. And y'all see how they always put black people last, but one day we will rule this joint.
Who put black people last? Imagine white people listening to this and trying to figure out what are they talking about. Like you see black doctors, you see black lawyers, you see black CEOs, you see black teachers, professors, you see black presidents, vice presidents, although it's not real, vice presidents. You see black people in every facet of society. So imagine a white person looking at society and seeing black people everywhere, from the position of president all the way down to homeless. And they're trying to figure out what in the world are they talking about, keeping them down, holding them back. So again, what do you all want white people to do? That's my question for black people. Let's continue.
Yeah, for the pass out to my screen.
Jerry Anderson, the main man.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna ask you a quick question right quick.
What's up?
What's the name of the project right here?
Ride home.
So you used to use the trap over here?
Yeah, I used to travel 500 back in the day.
How much money do you think you made a week over here?
Probably about 500,000.
500,000 a week?
Yeah.
God damn. What the hell?
Official.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Gonna set up my next shot right here. Right here.
Now imagine this guy. He sold dope in the 80s, destroyed the community, making $500K a week, and he repays the community by handing out ice creams. Now I get called sellout, coon, bootlicker, Uncle Tom. But this guy was selling drugs, making $500K a week, destroying the community, and he gets a pass because he's handing out ice cream. This guy sold dope to mothers, pregnant mothers, children, had children selling for him. So you know if he made $500,000 a week, he had to kill some people, right? You know that, right? You know you don't get to $500K a week without killing somebody. You know that, right? There's no drug dealer that's at that level that hasn't killed people. Because you're going to have competition. You're going to have folks want to take you out. You want to expand your empire. So imagine this guy literally leaving a legacy of death, destruction, and damnation, and black people celebrating him. But then when it comes to me, he's a sellout, he's a bootlicker, he's an Uncle Tom, he's a coon. Now you want white people to somehow figure out how to deal with a group of people that have a mentality like that. You want white people to be around a group of people that would celebrate someone destroying the community and then condemn someone trying to uplift the community. Dear black people, what do you want white people to do? Because what you all are asking them to do is ungodly. It's ungodly. Let's continue.
I was wondering about our yesterdays and digging through the rubble. And to say the least, somebody went to a hell of a lot of trouble to make sure that when we looked things up, we wouldn't fare too well. And we would come up with totally unreliable pictures of ourselves. But I've compiled what few facts I could, such as they are, to see if we could find out a little bit of something. And this is what I got so far. First, white folks discovered Africa. They claimed it fair and square. Cecil Rhodes couldn't have been robbing nobody because, hell, there wasn't nobody there. And white folks brought all the civilization because there wasn't none around. How could the folks be civilized when wasn't nobody writing nothing down? And just to prove all of their suspicions, well, didn't take too long. They found out that there were whole tribes of people in plain sight running around with no clothes on. That's right. The men, the women, the young, and the old righteous folks covered their eyes. And no time was spent considering the environment. Hell no, this just wasn't civilized. And another piece of information they had, or at least this is what we were taught, is that unlike the civilized people of Europe, these tribal units actually fought. And yes, there was some crude implements, and yes, there was primitive art, and yes, they were masters of hunting and fishing, and courtesy came from the heart. And yes, there was love and medicine, religion, intertribal communication by drum, but no paper, no pencils, and no other utensils, and hell, these folks never even heard of a gun. And this is why the colonies came, to stabilize the land, because the dark continent had copper and gold, and the discoverers had themselves a plan. They would discover all the places with promise. You didn't need no titles and deeds. Then they would appoint people to make everything legal, to sanction the trickery and greed. And back in the jungle, when the natives got restless, they would call it guerrilla attack. And they would never describe that the folks finally got wise and decided that they would fight back. And still, we are victims of word games. Semantics is always a bitch. Places once referred to as underdeveloped are now called mineral rich. And the game goes on eternally. Unity kept just beyond reach. Egypt and Libya used to be in Africa. They've now been moved to the Middle East. There are examples galore, I assure you. But if interpreting were left up to me, I'd be sure every time folks knew this version wasn't mine, which is why it is called his story.
How you gonna compete with that? How are you going to compete with Gil Scott Heron telling you that white people stole Africa? How in the world are you going to compete with Gil Scott Heron telling you that white people stole Africa in the form of a poem? How are you going to get people to not believe what he's saying and then go to the truth? You're not. You're not. I thought about it today and I said, is there hope for Black people? And when I say hope, I mean like, you know, not to be used for this global agenda. And I thought about it and I said, the only way that Black folks can truly be free is through the word of God. Because there's nothing of this world that's going to do it, because everything in this world is going to be tied to the programming and propaganda. Everything in this world is going to be tied to some form of programming and propaganda. Matter of fact, I'll take it a step further. Paul said they've been believing this without the poem. True. But I'm just saying the poem, the entertainment aspect of it just drives the point home even more. But I mean, I was thinking today, and I was like, there has to be a generation to suffer a consequence for it to work. Okay. Right, Jesse Lee. Bob Marley singing, stole him from Africa, brought to America. He was fighting on arrival, fighting for survival. Buffalo soldier, dreadlock Rasta. Anyway, yeah, so you can't compete with that. You can't compete with Gil Scott Heron and Bob Marley and Nina Simone. You cannot compete with that. Once they put that on wax, it's over. Once they find a way to get this and get into your soul, it's over. Somebody told me today, they were like, talking with a good friend of mine, and he was like, think about the era of music, like in the 60s, where they started infusing like gospel into the music, like gospel type songs, but they were like R&B. And then I thought about, I was like, man, that's how they was able to open people up to the idea of the music being good. Because most Black folks were going to church, so they were using gospel type songs to get Black folks to open up to the music. And now look what the end result is. Now they talking about death, destruction, and damnation in most of the Black music. Buffalo soldier riding through the land. Yeah. Said you wanna take me by the hand, riding through the land. Let's continue. Let's continue.
Action. I don't care if you understand it, you don't understand it. I'm a warrior. I've been in head to head with these folks in corporate America. You know what I'm saying? Like when they ask the question, is there systemic racism? And nobody answers the question. I'm like, yo, no, hold on. This systemic racism, they trying to keep their foot on the neck up to my level, up to Jay-Z's level, up to LeBron's level. It's an illusion of inclusion by just a couple of us. So I could sit back here in the crib, but I'm not with it. I'm from that same block. I'm a frontliner. I'm with the smoke at any time, no matter where my address is at. We're in a war. This shit is not a fucking game. Everybody needs to wake up. I'm ringing the alarm. I'm having to start right now to organize and to come together, and so we could build our political army.
Now, they want you to believe that because Sean Puffy Combs is spitting this old, retired, broken record message, we at war, the white man is trying to get us, there's the same tired message. They want you to believe that this is the reason they took down Diddy. What Diddy is saying in this video is what has been said at least 78 million times. At least 78 million times somebody has said this in this same speech. Black people are so programmed to where they believe that if a person says something that's been said a million times, that it means something. Now, Puff Daddy wants you to believe that he's fighting for black people, but not fighting to pay his artists. P. Diddy wants you to believe that he's fighting for black people, but not fighting to pay his artists. So imagine him telling black people, I'm fighting for you, but I'm not paying my artists. Doesn't make any sense. That doesn't even make any sense. I'm fighting for black people, but I'm not paying my artists. And black folks don't even connect the two. They don't even connect. Wait a minute. How is he fighting for us, but then doing his black artists wrong? How is he selling dope to the community, but then handing out turkeys on Thanksgiving? Black folks are so far removed from wisdom and discernment, they can't even connect two obvious dots. Two obvious dots.
Apologetically for the things that matter to us.
Do you believe there's a way to vote in support of like your personal interests and the interests of your people as a whole?
Yeah. See, when you at our Black Party, we love free thinking, free minded people and individuals.
That's a bold-faced lie. Black people hate free-minded and free-thinking individuals. Anybody that grew up in the black community and you didn't do what everybody else was doing, you were not celebrated, you were hated. Everybody knows that. Anybody in this chat, how many of you all were different than the quote-unquote black normality of blackness? How many of you all were different than that? The status quo of bliggity, and you were celebrated and honored? How many? Who got celebrated in the black community for being different? Tell me who. Tierra said, I got cursed out yesterday by someone I used to work with by telling her the truth. Christopher said, my whole life, bro. Like, he's lying. Free thinking and free-minded individuals loved by black people? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Neek said, I'm a unicorn now, 31, no children, and never had an abortion in my life. I'm simply not a statistic. It's true. It's true. Christopher said, I get attacked for promoting logic. But Neek, what Neek is saying is that her not having any children and never having an abortion at the age of 31 is a rarity in the Black community because most Black women have a child and most Black women are single mothers. The majority of Black women have children out of wedlock. The majority. Black women have more children than Black men. Make that make sense.
That's all we want in life, is to be able to be free and to be able to think as free as we want. But you have a responsibility to your people to ride on what they riding with for the betterment of the good of the whole overall tribe. We are a people that have been.
Let me tell you something, man. It will be hard for me to sit in front of Diddy and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Because I'd be like, man, what are you talking about? You know good and well you ain't finna fight. I couldn't do it. We had to stop the interview. I can't do this, y'all. I can't do this. They allowed P. Diddy to spit this nonsense, this garbage, this trash, and got y'all believing it's a conspiracy to take him down because he went to war with a liquor company that he was just the name for. Come on,
man. Abused the most. And we got to start biting their legs off.
That's right.
You know, when they put their foot on our neck, we got to start biting that shit off. When they shooting us in the back, we got to start defending ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Because ain't nothing going to stop unless you stop it.
Now, I want you to think about during this time period, Prudence said, stop tossing word salad. This is a great joke. Thank you so much, Prudence. That's a little comedic genius. But what Diddy, you got to think about during this time, the programming was very high with COVID and George Floyd. Breonna Taylor and the other guy that forgot his name, but Jacob something. But you got to remember during this time, emotions were high and Black people were in a very emotional state more than usual. The homicide rate was going up. They were walking around wearing masks. They were confused. They were emotional. They wanted to fight. They wanted a revolution. So Diddy is matching. The reason why he seems off a little bit is because he's matching the emotional energy of Black people. Black folks ate this up. Keep in mind, Diddy raised $5 million and bought some workers of New York some sandwiches. Diddy raised $5 million. Remember, he was dancing. He was doing the Harlem Shake. Remember that? He was doing the Harlem Shake. He raised $5 million and he bought some first, what they call them, first responder workers or whatever they call the nurses. He bought the nurses and doctors some sandwiches. So we don't know what he did with the other $4,995,000. He made a quick lick off the emotions of the dummies, the libtards and the bliggities, and ran off with the bag.
It's Black insanity. We have to get off of this. We have to wake up and see what's going on. The world is watching.
Because it's such an easy conversation to have.
Black people are so disingenuous, just so dishonest, just no honor at all. No honor.
Things are going too well. Things are going perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong. No, I feel comfortable and safe. I got an idea. Let's introduce black people and women into this equation. That will improve this. That will improve the situation. Great.
Whoever made this video, whoever made this video, it is hilarious because the way they got this backdrop and Nick Fuentes in the suit talking. But I saw this video and I was just cracking up, but this is hilarious. Oh, right, Paul. Demons don't have honor. But let's continue, though.
It's a shame. I really do believe, look, I think black people are not irredeemable, but there just needs to be brutal honesty. It's like, look, these black people are really struggling and they're turning into these maniacs. It seems like they don't do anything right. They're obnoxious, they're rude, they're inconsiderate, aggressive, cruel. And, you know, look, nobody hates black people for being black. If there are people like that, I think that's exceedingly rare. And I don't consider myself one of them. The reason that people have negative attitudes about black people is because most people's interactions with black people are negative. Most people's interactions with black people is when you're stuck in traffic and you see a Nissan Altima speeding down the shoulder. And you say, what the fuck? You're not supposed to do that. If everybody did that, it would just be another lane. And, you know, not everybody can do that. But it's like these people have no respect for decorum. They think the rules don't apply to them. They have no respect for society. Like that's their interaction is they are a waiter and they wait on a black table and the black people don't tip and they're fucking rude. Like that's most people's interactions. It's stuff like that. They go to.
I was getting some lunch today and there was a young lady, a queen, and I guess she was getting lunch for her office. I think she had like 3 orders. So she's standing in front of where you get your napkins, your condiments, your utensils. She's just standing in the way. So I said, okay, well, let me go sit down. Hopefully she'll move, you know, when she's done. I try to wait for her. The white guy comes up. She smiles, gets out of his way, and lets him get his stuff, and they have a small conversation and they crack a little joke. And they'll say, okay, now's my time. I get back up and go. She turns and her whole countenance changes. She gave me the mug. I'm like, what the heck? Her whole face and body language changed when I walked back up there. And I said, no, but guess, she can feel how she wants to feel. I'm just saying that it wasn't a pleasant nonverbal interaction with this woman. And she was literally in the way. Like literally everything sprawled out and like literally in the way. And I tried to be nice and say, okay, let me just, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Would I say that most interactions with black people are rude? Anna Mack says black people do tip. Now, what's funny about Anna Mack is if you ask servers of all races and you ask them what race tips the least, they all say black people. I've asked servers, bartenders of all races, and they all say the same thing, that black people are the worst when it comes to tipping. They all say it. So Anna Mack is doing what we call trying to save black people at the expense of telling the truth. So in other words, I'm going to lie so that black people don't look so bad. When at the end of the day, all black folks have to do is just tip like everybody else does. If tipping, okay, let me ask you all a question. If tipping, okay, I'll paint a scenario. What if in a dystopian future, the only people given the right to tip were Black people? Do you think the service industry would blossom, or would it collapse? In a dystopian future where only Black people had the right to tip, do you believe that the service industry would go up or it would go down? Blackjack said Blacks and the J Crew are the worst tippers. I always say that the bliggities and the jiggities got the same spirit. Arbo says, I went to Florida State University, worked at Wing Zone in Tallahassee. A lot of the FAMU students would tip like 47 cents just to round up to the nearest even total. I believe it. Let me thank you, Cruise Missile, for the super sticker. Thank you so much. Always supporting, sir. Thank you so much. My boy Calvin, everything with propaganda is America's viewpoint. Therefore, forming the constant merit of moral advertisement defined as culture. Everything with propaganda is America's viewpoint. Therefore, forming the constant merit of moral advertisement defined as culture. Maybe y'all can decode that. I'm trying to figure that out. Okay, everything with propaganda, and I want to try to, like, because he dropped $50, so I want to try to figure this out. Everything with propaganda is America's viewpoint. So I guess America's viewpoint is propaganda. Okay, America's viewpoint is propaganda. Okay. Therefore, forming the constant merit of moral advertisement defined as culture. Okay, so I guess what he's saying is America's viewpoint is propaganda. Therefore, the culture is based on that propaganda. I hope I got that right. I don't know. I hope I got that right. So America's viewpoint is from propaganda, and we've created a culture based on that propaganda. I think that's what he's trying to say. But thank you, Mr. Bailey, for the super sticker. Thank you. Let's continue.
The DMV, and they see a Black person behind the counter, and they say, oh, here we go. And the person's rude. Now, it just goes to show people are not racist. It goes to show people don't like people that are rude. That people don't, it's unpleasant. People want to be treated with consideration and respect. And it is true that Black people are, in this day and age, unfortunately, seem to have very low moral character. It's not even just the violence, although the violence is pretty striking. If you live your life...
He said what I often say, that Black culture is a culture of low character. And he is right. When you interact with Black people, more times than not, it's not going to be you're not going to be able to have a moral conversation. When I say moral, I mean a conversation of character and honesty, until you're not. But it is a low character culture. Now, that's not to say that all Black people have low character. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that when Black people interact, with white people, it's not an honest interaction. It's just not. Most of the time, it's very dishonest, and it's very programmed and propaganda driven. It is. It's not authentic at all. It's very either I'm trying to prove that you are a racist, or I'm trying to prove that I'm smarter than you. I'm trying to prove that I'm better than you. I'm trying to prove that you're not superior. It's not authentic. It's not just a genuine interaction with another human being. It's not. Tierra said, that is so embarrassing when people ask the waiter to split the check and then pick and choose what to put on their check. Like, it's horrible. You can almost guarantee, and all servers know this, if they go to a black table and they hear split the check, they already know they're not getting a tip. When a server comes to a large party of black people and they hear, we're going to split the check, they already know they're not getting a tip. They know this because when black people divide up that check, they don't include the tip, they don't include the tax. In fact, they pay less than what's on the tip, on what their portion is. They don't understand tax, gratuity, they don't understand none of that. All they see is what they paid for with very poor vision and very poor math. So if their bill actually comes out to $67.48, they're probably going to give $60 because they got 320s in their wallet. I'm just saying. Or that's how much they got to spend on their card. What usually happens is people put a lower amount, and then the responsible person at the table gets stuck with all the tax and the rest of the stuff. Because I've been at table many a times, and I'd be like, wait a minute. All I did was eat the bread they bought out. I didn't even eat nothing, and I owe $47. That didn't even make any sense. I didn't even eat nothing. I've been at tables, I didn't even eat. I had the water and the bread, and I got the bill in my hand, $47. It's crazy. But let's continue.
And you know that you're going to be mugged by black people, it kind of colors your opinion or perception of black people, wouldn't you say? If 99% of the carjackings and stabbings and shootings that you see in Chicago are by black people, when you're walking down the street late at night, guess what you're looking for? Black people. And you equate that with danger. And it doesn't take a lot of them to spoil the whole bunch like that. And we just want black people to take accountability and say, look, I'm not a bad person. I'm not a bad person. It just seems that every time I encounter you people, for the most part, it's negative. And sometimes extremely negative, like I could get a gun in my face. You know? That's a problem. And people go, well, you are just loaded up with hatred and racism. It's like, I'm really not. I'm a really friendly person. I'm a really polite, friendly person. I give everybody a chance. But if I'm someplace and I see some black person walking in with their pants sagging and they can't articulate what their problem is or what they need, and they're rude and they're aggressive and I'm in fear for my life, like, yeah, I have a problem with all of that. And people go, and these black people go, well, you're racist, you're racist. It's like, no, I just hate inconsiderate behavior. If black people were super well behaved, we would be racist in the other direction. We'd say, black people, oh yes, dude, yes. My day is about to turn around for the better. What can I help you with, sir? Please come right on in. Man, what a relief to see you here. You're a sight for sore eyes. If black people were known for being the best, then we would be racist in the other direction. Oh, finally. So yeah, that really bothers me. It just bothers me in this damn ass city, because that's all it is in Chicago, is just these black people who can never take accountability. It's always somebody else's fault.
I think that Nick, if he wanted to, I mean, if he wanted to make some extra money, he probably could be a comedian. Now, it put him in more harm's way, but he could probably be a comedian though, honestly. But now we're not settled on whether Nick is a Fed or not, but I do agree with what he said in this video. And I know this because, and he doesn't want to address this, is that Black people have been under programming for, I'm gonna tell you how long. Let me tell you how long Black folks been under programming. Let me just let somebody articulate to you how long Black people have been under programming.
A Christian, and he wasn't a patriot, and he wasn't a meritocrat. He wasn't somebody who believed in merit. King's advisors, who wrote all of his speeches, who wrote his books, who basically fabricated this man that we know as Dr. Martin Luther King, many of whom were communists, who didn't believe one word in the Constitution or the Bible, but they knew how to use rhetoric to move crowds. The Civil Rights Movement, it was a way to usurp states' rights, to usurp state sovereignty, and to vest it into the coffers of the federal government. They wanted to expand federal authority. And this.
Think about this attack that's been on states' rights, even back to Abraham Lincoln and the Civil War. Isn't it ironic that the Civil War was an attack on state rights, and then the Civil Rights Movement was an attack on states' rights? And then we had the Peter pandemic, which was the same thing because the states were divided based on measures done during COVID. If your state was more red, they probably let you be a little more free. If your state was blue, it was communism. Isn't it funny how there's always been this kind of attack on state rights, even when it came to abortion? Certain states saying we want to have abortion start at this term. We want, like, it's this whole thing with the states being sovereign. Either they were trying to force the states to not be sovereign, or condemning the states that exercise their sovereignty. It's always been this thing about the states.
Second iteration of the Civil Rights Movement would have been in the 1930s under FDR. It was called the National Negro Congress, and the National Negro Congress was started with the help of Joseph Stalin and the Soviet Union. Right. So you had the communists and you had the feds who had an interest in this civil rights movement. And the figurehead of it was a man by the name of A. Philip Randolph, who was an avowed socialist. The National Negro Congress was like the 1930s version of the civil rights movement. And then it would morph into the civil rights movement under the leadership of Martin Luther King by the 1960s.
So look how far back this programming goes. This programming goes back, well, we know it goes back to even during the time of slavery. But just think about in what we consider our modern era, we can at least trace it back 100 years. With Joseph Stalin being one of the key people to start a civil rights movement, well, pre-civil rights movement in America for Black people. That's how long this has been going on, and that's how many people have been involved in it going on. I just watched this young lady today on YouTube. She basically has a channel, and she shows you how to use AI to get to the truth. And so she shows how you go to a 3-step process where you have to know how to ask AI questions to get to the final truth of what you're trying to. And she was talking about the Bolshevik Revolution. And when she first started it, it gave this answer. Then she went and asked it another. Then it gave a whole, like, it literally gave 3 separate answers, 3 separate detailed answers. The more she tailored her questions, the more and so she talks about on her channel how AI is going to feed your narcissism. So in other words, if you go to AI and say, "What's this?" because you believe the question you're asking is what you believe. So AI is going to give you what you ask for. It's going to feed your ego. She says, if you just ask a question, she said, but if you actually ask the right questions the right way, AI will give you the truth. And so she showed, it took her like 35 minutes or more, longer than that, maybe like 45 minutes to actually get to where AI was actually telling the truth about the Bolshevik revolution, who was actually involved, who, like it was going. And then she asked it another question and it bypassed part. When she got to the 4th level, it bypassed part of her question that she asked on purpose. Like it's crazy. I'll try to remember her page, but I think it's called something. Is it consent before silence? Or, I mean, the young lady, she's Armenian, but she's awesome. I mean, but the way she has figured this out is masterful. Like I'm gonna try to find this young lady's page and put it in the notes of this this YouTube video. But anyway, so Chad is breaking down how far this goes back and to the level it goes back. That's why when we're talking about things like IQ and Black people and how they're behaving in the culture, this thing has been going on a very long time with very powerful people, and it's very intricate and detailed. Think about what Chad just unpack what Chad just said, and think about what we see today. And they're just talking about IQ. No, it's a little more nuanced than that.
So again, it was started by the feds and by the communists, the civil rights movement. And it was never organic. It was never grassroots. It was never noble. It was basically meant to exploit grievances, some real, some fabricated, in order to usurp states' rights and to centralize power into the federal government. That's what it was always meant to do.
You look at what happened after the civil rights movement, and you have the expansion of the welfare state. And this was what we're told was a defining moment as to, okay, we're on the right trajectory now. There's still a lot of work to be done, but this social justice movement at least put us in the right direction. But then it was when I started reading Thomas Sowell that you start looking at the economic numbers, and you see that from the 1920s to 1960s, the poverty rate within Black Americans was 80%. By 1960, it had dropped to 29%. But then in the decades preceding the social justice movement, the poverty rates pretty much stayed the same. There was no movement.
So you have to ask yourselves a question: how did the poverty rate drop so significantly during a time period that they tell you Black people had it very bad? How did the poverty rate drop so significantly and they're telling you that Black people were not allowed to work? Because they tell you that Black people were being lynched, they couldn't work, segregation, Jim Crow, they were impoverished. They tell you all of this stuff. So how in the world did the poverty rate go from 85% to 29%? How was that even possible? With everything they tell you about history, how is that? You couldn't do that now. You couldn't drop the poverty rate now by those numbers. Crazy. People have a lot of explaining to do.
And then even too, from the 1920s to the 60s, things like home ownership within Black Americans was increasing. But then again, it just teeters off after this social justice movement. So it's really interesting that we have this kind of cultural narrative that is completely backwards to the economic reality.
This person's page is called the Blender Report. It's the Blender Report. But you heard Mr. Blender. He said that even home ownership. So they're telling you during the time of redlining, Black people were not only cutting the poverty rate from 85% to 29%, but they were also buying homes. Somebody has lied to us. So again, imagine a white person that knows the truth, and they come in contact with a Black person who doesn't. What do you want them to do? You either want them to lie to you or ignore you and get called racist, or lie to you and get called racist. Like, it doesn't matter what they do. We've been lied to, y'all. We have been lied to.
Oh, self-hating, Sambo-ish, self.
I'm gonna save that one. I'm gonna save that one.
The whole planet was always naturally warm.
No, that's not it.
So this is just me leaving Leeds for one of the last times. Essentially, I had the viral moment where the kids attacked me and I stuck up for myself. Came back and there was a potential that they were going to be here again today. They weren't, but if you can see from this video, Leeds does not feel like a safe place at the minute, and the vibe was very, very, very weird. It just doesn't feel right being here, which is such a shame because I love Leeds. That's why I came back here. I was so excited to do the show. The show is still going ahead. It just might not be very busy because I'm not able to promote it the way that I normally do. I won't be back busking tomorrow. I'm now going to drive home instead of staying here. I'm going to do my one and only last busk in Leeds next Thursday, the 26th. The 26th of June. Please do come down. Those lads won't be there. So it'll just be us. We can celebrate some nice free music. And it'll be my last time to see you guys, except from the show, of course, which is on the.
Again, white. Now, what's funny is, I want you to think about how many times you see white people being attacked. I want you to think about all the races that you see. Think about all the races and how many times you see white people attacked. How many times do you see white people attacking other groups versus how many times you see other groups attacking white people? How many times do you see a random white person walking down the street just attacking somebody of color? If we did see it, the videos would be viral. Tierra said he needs a crew. He needs somebody because there's no way as a white man that I would be on the streets in Europe. Just no, ain't no way, because you're a target. You are a target. Oh, I wanted to play one more video before I play this. I'm gonna play one more. What is this right here? Let me see this.
Walk up to the store, or like my cousin, you can't even work without running or losing your life.
I ain't gonna show this one. This is bad. That was bad. This guy just killed that guy for no reason. The dude said, take what you want to take. He still killed him.
Without running or losing your life. You can't even walk to the store, or like my cousin, you can't even work without running or losing your life. Even walk to the store, or like my cousin, you can't even work without running or losing your life.
Let me get 2 of these. No, the crazy.
Can't even walk to the store, or like my cousin, you can't even work without running or losing your life.
Ladies, get your food. Who? Get in the car? Who? Ladies. Get your food. Get your food. If you say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. Oh my grandma, say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. Oh, say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out.
Can't even walk to the store, or like my cousin, you can't even work without running or losing your life.
And I show that because this is what I'm like, and Nick Fuentes was right, because the situations with Black people go from 0 to 100, like it's just too fast. Like it goes from a disagreement to gunshots. Like it's just, there's no time to even take cover or think. Like it's nothing. It's too volatile. It's just too volatile. So I don't know. I just think that if I was a white man in America today, I would not live around Black people. And I say that sincerely because, I never forget my ex, stayed in these condos in the Vinings, and there was a mother and son that moved downstairs, and the mother was never there, but the son was always there, and he's just leave trash on the ground. Like, it was him because it was styrofoam containers with chicken bones in them and McDonald's and do-rag packages. Like, it was just bad. He would just leave, and the dumpster to throw the trash away was literally 10 feet away with where he dropping the trash. Like, he was just the dumpster's right there. He was dropping the trash right there. And I later found out that his mother was paying fines for his loud, the weed was loud and the music was loud. So his mother was paying a fine for that, because the HOA was fining his mom for that. So it's just the fact that she was even paying it. Like, instead of him not doing it, she was paying it. It was insane. Even here, like, some Black folks moved next door to me, and I go to take my trash, put trash in my trash can, and my trash can is filled up. And then I put a sign on my trash can, don't put trash in my trash can, and they still put trash in there. And those same black people were renting next door. Ironically, one day I come home and it's the bounty hunters looking for them or looking for the son-in-law. But yeah, I hope. For the record, I'm a supporter of Blanche. I have been from the jump. Please ask your mod Navi to use proper discernment when blocking your supporters. No ego. Yeah, nobody should be getting blocked unless like nobody should be getting blocked. They tell Figgy to watch her mouth. So listen, y'all, listen. We are all adults. We are adults. And so people are going to disagree. It is what it is. We're on a platform, people giving their opinions. Thank you for the super sticker, Figgy. But yeah, for somebody to get blocked, though, it has to be something serious, like they're compromising the channel. It has to be a channel compromise to get blocked. At the end of the day, if somebody's on here talking slick or talking, I mean, they can just get talked back to slick or crazy, or if it gets too out of control, then they can get blocked or put in timeout. But I don't know what was said, but okay. AI can and does lie, and the Diablo is the father of them, which means technology is the baby of its own creation. I agree 100%, Vintage Goods Willie. And you notice that when she was asking the AI questions, the first AI answer it gave was almost like an answer that somebody would, it almost was given an answer that it, based on how you asked the question, what you wanted to hear. The way the question, she asked the question, the AI was like, okay, this type of person is asking this question, let me give it this answer. It literally gave 3 different answers. And when she got to the 4th level, it wouldn't even acknowledge one of her questions. But thank you, Vintage Goods Willie. Technology is, Satan's way to mimic God. As I said last show, though, I want Prudence said, what is a compromise? I mean, I don't know. Type in sexually explicit stuff in the chat, or I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'm thinking something that YouTube would deem, a violation of the guidelines, or something that somebody could use to say that this channel is this. I don't know. But everybody is welcome to have their own opinion on this channel. They don't have to agree with me. They don't have to agree with what I'm talking about. Everybody has a right to have their own opinion. This is not a dictatorship where people can't voice their opinion. They can. Unless they are compromising the channel, they need to be allowed to speak. Let me go to this one video of Just Pearly Things. Let me go to my history. Oh, that young lady, her page is Signal Before Silence. That's her YouTube channel, Signal Before Silence. She had a great breakdown. The video I saw was a great breakdown. And I wish I could have played this video tonight. I'm gonna have to wait till Saturday. But I forgot to play this video. I'm sorry. But let me go to I got so many videos to show. I think I'm just going to be reacting to these YouTube videos on Saturday because I got so many, man. It was Just Pearly Things and Jesse Lee Peterson. And it was a good. Oh, here it was right here. I found it.
What do you deal with? Yes.
And I think it's offensive that like you think you need to hire people because of this color of their skin. And I have a whole team in Nigeria. They do a great job. Shout out Nigeria.
All right, shout out Nigeria.
And it didn't matter. Like none of that mattered to me.
Well, I noticed that blacks from other countries, when they come here, they work harder, they get a good education, they tend to start businesses. But the blacks that live here, because they've been spoiled by the government, especially the Democratic Party, they don't tend to do that because they're not as independent as the ones that come here. It wasn't always that way, but it's truly like that now.
Yeah, I think I actually really like hiring Africans because their culture, they just work very hard.
Yeah.
Like my producers from.
Now, you know they're going to call her racist for saying that, right? Now, you know she's going to be called racist for saying, I like hiring Africans. Now, you know they about to, you know, they just, I think this might be old. I don't know, but maybe it's not old, but I don't know. But I feel like this isn't that old. But they're going to call her a colonizer because she said she hires Nigerians.
From Zimbabwe, my content team's from Nigeria. Like I just think Africans have a really strong like work ethic.
Yeah, I agree. Amazing. I gotta heat this thing up, this interview up.
Okay.
I'm gonna put you on the hot seat.
Okay.
And I need you to answer these questions as quickly as possible. Do we need more white babies?
Yes.
Is it ever okay to call a woman fat?
Yes.
Oh, I knew that one. Did you take the jab?
Yes, sadly.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
I didn't want to quarantine for 2 weeks and I went to the UK. I regret it, but yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you, so I figured that Just Pearly Things took the jab because she was in the UK doing her show, but you see the disappointment in Jesse Lee Peterson when he asked that question, because you would think that because she has such strong convictions and she has some sense that she wouldn't have done it. But the reason she gave was that she didn't want to quarantine for 2 weeks. So either you didn't want to miss the money or you wanted to be out there in the streets. Either way, it wasn't good, but she highlights why people took it. It wasn't about health. It was about having access to the world. I'm gonna play it again though. It's just Jesse Peterson's like, really?
Fat.
Yes.
Oh, I knew that one. Did you take the jab?
Yes, sadly.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
I didn't want to quarantine for 2 weeks and I went to the UK. I regret it, but yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why do you regret it?
I've been on health Twitter recently, and I've seen a lot of people dying from it, and I'm like, oh, I hope I don't. But I can't undo it now. I'm already here. So.
True or false? Abortion is worse than slavery.
It's just so. Even though I kind of knew it, it's just disheartening because you don't want to see the people that have some sense do it. I mean, Blackjack said, I knew somebody that took the jab just so they can go see Erykah Badu. That's crazy. That's crazy. Neek said, that woman is a whole fraud. That broad is a whole fraud. Always talking about relationships and men and women dynamics, but is chronically single. Neek, now you know that Just Pearly Things likes black guys. You know this. And you know it is going to be very difficult for her to find a black guy that's going to match her semi-conservative values. Now, you know that. Now, it's easier for her to find a black guy that's conservative than it is for a black man or white man to find a black woman that's conservative. But you know that Just Pearly Things likes black men. And so you know how difficult it is for y'all to find a decent black man. You know it's triple times hard for Just Pearly Things to find one. You would think it wouldn't be, but sadly enough, she's not big enough. If Just Pearly Things was more obese, she's not obese, but more overweight and just a little less attractive, she probably would have a black dude. I mean, I'm just be honest with you. She probably have a black dude, but she ain't big enough. She's not probably liberal enough. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I know that's for a fact, but she can't speak. You see, I mind my single childless business. Yeah, right. A Roseanne type, yeah. If she looked like Roseanne Barr, she would have been snatched up. Miss One of One says, sorry, One of None. I'm reading this book called The Truth About Lynching and the Negro in the South, written in 1918. You might find it interesting. Check your DMs. Okay, thank you so much, Miss One of One. Just writing it down real quick. Thank you so much. All right. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to the show today. I was disappointed in Just Pearly Things, but not shocked. Blanche, I see you in the video, in the comment section of the video, the lady with the video always feeding her kids diabetes. What did I say? Blackjack says she's just too flat, unseasoned chicken. I mean, you said Just Pearly Things has a man? She does. I don't know. She has a man. I'm curious to see her man. Yeah, Tierra, she is cooked. But I'm curious to see her man, though. I am. Mano, as always, great show, Blanche. Do you have an email for your fans to send you videos that we would like you to review? You know what? I'm going to dedicate Saturday to videos that I've been sent. But yes, let me write in the chat right now. I will send you, I'm going to send my email right now. You can send me a video. But I'm going to start this Saturday, and I'm going to start on the videos I already have in the email, in my emails to respond to. But thank you, Maynard. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes. Okay. So T. Kang said one of her latest shows, she said that she's in a relationship. Shout out to whoever that dude is. Well, listen, we are happy for Just Pearly Things. Charles says she's too intelligent. So we are happy for Just Pearly Things having a man. I am still curious to see who the guy is, and I would love for her to show us who this guy is. And I don't know, but I can almost guarantee that he is African. I can almost guarantee he's African. I can almost guarantee it. But listen, y'all, thanks for moderating Goddess Navi. Thank you, Figgy, for sticking around. Hopefully we can all get along in these chats and have disagreements and still respect each other. But listen, I love y'all, and I will see you all on tomorrow with Molly. Oh, I don't have a time. I want to say we said 7 o'clock tomorrow. I want to say we said 7. I can't remember, but I want to say we said 7. Anyway, I love y'all. And she was timed out because of her disrespect in her mouth. Okay. But anyway, listen, I love y'all. And I will see y'all soon. Oh, no problem, Tom Yawning. What's up, Cool Giatti? But listen, I love y'all, and I will see y'all on tomorrow with Chef Molly promoting her new book. But again, I'll see y'all tomorrow. I love y'all. Y'all have a blessed night.